It's the third week of the 13th season here in the World GT Championship on RaceSpotTV. Coming to you from the Red Bull Ring for three 20-minute sprint races of action coming to you tonight. And, well, it's myself, Paul Smith. Alongside me is Peter Mackay. And Peter, you weren't here last week. You didn't see all the drama that happened at Interlagos, but welcome back. And what an iconic and spectacular venue here in the Styrian Mountains.
Absolutely, one of the most picturesque venues anywhere in the world to go racing. One of the most sophisticated facilities anywhere in the world. Red Bull Ring with the backing of that particular energy drinks company. 3 sprint races tonight, so a completely different set of circumstances for our drivers so far this season. We've seen who can get it done in the endurance and the feature races, but the sprints, especially here at the Red Bull Ring, is going to be quite a different skill indeed.
It certainly is. We started our season off at Watkins Glen before Interlagos last week. There you go, you see Red Bull Ring this week. We get a week off next week, so me and Peter get put our feet up and enjoy ourselves next week. And then we come back to Bathurst. I mean, what an iconic venue, just seeing the Bathurst 12 hours this weekend in real life. Then Zolder, Motegi, Sebring, Monza with Oschersleben, Daytona, Manicourt and Hockenheim rounding off our season. And talking of the season, we are in the early stages with 3 races underway, just 11 points separating Alex Davidson and Leandro Andaruti, with Aaron Vasquez, Lucas Prada and Ross McFarlane rounding out the top 5. Fabio Unvadros, one of the newcomers into the series, in 6th ahead of his teammate, another newcomer, Massimo Locatello, in 7th, with Christoph Krekas, then Jack Sedgwick and Ashley Finch rounding out the top 10. In Pro-Am, it is Daniel Sedgley who leads that one by 15 points, so close there ahead of James Blamey, with Pete Harrod, Kevin Bellens, Ethan Critchley rounding out your top 5. Shane Burke with Tim Perry and Tom Brown into 8th place. Harold Stadler and Justin Clarsons rounding out the top 10. In your AM standings, it is Sophia Ridpath who leads that one, but look at how close it is there at the top. Just 3 points between Sophia and Andy Archer in 2nd place. Jonathan Walker, Sarah Raab and Adam Hedgecock round out the top 5, with Jeroen Kaiser, Ben Gregory, Jack Osborne, Paul Crawford and Lars van Rijn rounding out that top 10. In your Pro Teams Championship, it is Pure Sims Esports that leads that one by 81 points over the German SimRacing.de team. Brabham Esports 3rd ahead of Beehive Racing, who had a good outing towards the end of that second race. Altis Esports, Pure Sims SimLab with Brabham Esports Hissing Sid, Altitude Esports German Sim Racing and Altitude Esports White. Then in your Pro-Am, it is Platinum Racing Team with Century Sim Esports just 63 points back. Altitude Esports Blue then in 3rd ahead of DCW Racing. Century Sim Racing ahead of Team Mad with Penguin RC Simulations in 7th. 3M UK, Boosted and Inex Racing round out that top 10. So there we go, Peter. That is how things stand, and how things stand in qualifying at the moment is, it's Leandro Andaruti in the sole Porsche at the head of the standings.
Yeah, Andaruti has been pretty special so far in that Porsche, of course, winning the opening round of the season, the endurance race at Watkins Glen. He leads a top 3 that has 3 different manufacturers in it. The championship leader, Alex Davidson Ferrari, and the Mercedes AMG GT3 of Lucas Prada. Defending champion Ross McFarlane, he's there in 4th in the second of the Ferraris. The first of the Audis, Aaron Vasquez, car number 44. Interestingly there, because the Audis have been tipped as the big car to have, but judging by that top 3 at the moment, not quite.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, these drivers are getting a real sort of mix of standings and how things are. I mean, this Red Bull Ring circuit is quite a fast track, but it is challenging to get absolutely right out there as the last couple of cars will come across the line. And, well, we've just got about 30 seconds before we head on over to the race server. So, 3 races, Peter. I think it's going to be a real challenge for some of these newer names in the series to deal with those reverse grids in such short races.
Yeah, it's going to be a baptism of fire, that's for sure, and it's all about survival tonight. Get yourself through tonight. If you can have 3 clean races, kind of whatever your pace is, you're going to be fine, because there is going to be attrition tonight. There's a lot of pinch points at this circuit. Turn 1 is one of them. Turn 3 is another, and we've got several quite quick drivers coming through as well from the back who are serving qualifying bans. So yeah, buckle in, folks. It's going to be a wild one.
Right, well, let's take you through your starting grid then. It is Anderuti and Davidson who share the front row with Lucas Prada and Ross McFarlane. Pure Sims Esports really locking out those front 2 rows of the grid. Aaron Vasquez and Jack Sedgwick on row number 3. The 4th row of the grid is Christoph Krekas with Jordan Johnson, Fabio Unvadrus, and then your top Pro-Am, James Boemi in 10th place. Tim Perry and Hunter McDaniel then on row number 6. Row 7 for Ethan Critchley and Marvin Lesmolman with Massimo Locatello and Justin Clarson's then. Adam Watson and Tom Brown then on row number 9, with the 10th row of the grid being Daniel Sedgley and Sophia Ridpath. Andy Archer and Pete Harrod share the next row of the grid with Harold Sadler and Kevin Bellens on row number 12. Row 13, Ashley Finch and Adam Hedgecock with Richard Simner, Joe Newman, Ben Palmer and David Valls, rounding us down to row 15. 16th row is Dario Adriansons with Ben Gregory, Daniel Nault with Shane Burke, Mark Woodhouse and Magic Sakovic, an all-team mad row there with Paddy Faulkner and Jeroen Kaiser on row number 19. Row 20 is Cody Crosgrove and Paul Crawford. Lars van Rijn and Brian Cern on row number 21. And then the rest of the team drivers who did not get a lap time in because of penalties. Look at some of these big names as well. Josh Thompson, James Armstrong with Ryan Martin, Aaron Rose, Jensen Adriansons and Jack Osborne. And then the last car on the grid, Dan Blackwell, rounds out your 49 car field. Worth pointing out, Sophia Redpath, by the way, your top AM in qualifying here. Conditions, not too bad out there. Clear skies though, but 30-degree track temperature. These cars will be fine. They can push for 20 minutes.
Yeah, actually, 20 minutes. You got plenty life in the tyre. Just go for it from the word go. You just have to keep a little bit of an eye on the tyre the first couple of corners, but yeah, this should be just a straight sprint for 20 minutes as well. Quite tactical as well with the drafting down the straight from turn 1 through turn 2 and turn 3. It's flat out all the way through there as well, so we'll see who's got that right in this first race, which of course is set in pace order from qualifying.
No pit stop strategy to worry about here in this opening, in all 3 races, should I say. If you end up on pit road, that means that something has gone drastically wrong. But your pace car pulls off to driver's right into the final corner, the 10th corner on the track. And then we're under starters orders, and it's going to be Leandro Anderuti who will get the jump then away at the front. Green flag racing underway here in the World GT Championship, and Anderuti gets the jump over them all. The Pure Sims cars, they try and sort themselves out with Jack Osborne coming around the outside of turn number 1, and we've got a crash further back. It's all stacking up. We said that turn 1 could be a potential pinch point, but so far, so good, as we're heading on up to turn number 3 for the first time. This can really catch some people out through this hairpin. And you see the rest of the field coming through, just as an expensive field of cars out there. And, well, the drivers will be thankful that they don't have to pay the repair bills. But heading down to turn number 4, Anderuti holding on to your race lead.
Yeah, well defended there from Leandro Anderuti in the privateer Porsche, running without sponsorship there, as you can see. Plain black Porsche 911 GT3R for Anderuti, with the 3 Pure Sims cars all lined up behind it. I think on a track of this style with the long straight between turn 1, 2 and 3, it's you having that little bit of help from your teammates is going to be really helpful, I believe. And Anderuti is going to have to really push to be able to hold the 3 Pure Sims drivers at bay. No need for fuel saving or anything like that, like we've seen in any of the endurance race or even the feature race when there's pit stops involved. No pit stop involved in these 20-minute sprints, so it's a direct dash to the flag. But we did see 1 or 2 cars go off there under braking zone for turn 1 there, Paul, as well, with the wall on the left-hand side catching 1 or 2 cars.
Yeah, I do think Daniel Nolt and also Matt Woodhouse and Magic Sakovic, your two teammates from Team Mad, I think they all got involved in that at the start of this race. They've dropped down the order, as has James Blamey. Not the best start for your Pro-Am starter, pole sitter. He is down in, dropped down the order here, down to 15th from 10th where he started. So that means Ethan Critchley is the top Pro-Am driver at the moment out there. We have got a car stopped out on track as well, which is Paddy Faulkner. He's got back up and running. You can see on the timing screen. Meanwhile, further down in that mid-pack, Fabio Unvedros not having everything all his own way here, trying to work his way through and get forward, as is the Brabham Esports car of Christoph Krekas.
Yeah, Christoph Krekas doing a great job there, just trying to find some space in that green and gold Brabham Esports Audi, giving chase to the to Unverdruss in the German sim racing Lamborghini. There's a bit of a move up the inside there from one of the sim lab cars. Who was that? Right up the inside of the Ferrari. Yeah, Jordan Johnson up the inside of Tim Perry. Good start for Tim, up there in 11th spot.
Yeah, Perry doing a good job. We saw him have a good final race of the day last week. As here comes Locatello then, trying to move forward. Some of these drivers just getting caught out at the start. And Locatello is gaining places, up 4 places already, and into the side and around. Oh my goodness, Locatello, it was going oh so good for him. And around, don't say that's Tim Perry, it is! My goodness, what on earth has happened out there? All of a sudden, 2 drivers, well, I mean, we know what happened because we saw it was Locatello down the inside and just lost control.
Yeah, and a little bit of an ambitious move early in the race there from Locatello, and it triggered a huge chain reaction. So one of the Altitude Esports Audi's getting caught up in that. I think it would have been Adam Watson. Oh, and more contact. Oh, spin for one of the Altitude Esports car number 29. That's Adam Watson. Oh, another slightly ambitious move. Rejoins into traffic. Oh, be careful, Adam.
Yeah, I think he's all right with that, but he'll be spitting feathers about that one, and he's trying to feed himself back in, and he's fed himself back in down in 36th place right now. My goodness, I've just looked at our timing screen. There's the replay, by the way, of what happened to Locatello, and then Tim Perry, I think, was actually a separate one. I think there was a car to his outside on corner exit that just collected him. Here's what happened to Adam Watson, then goes to the inside, side-to-side contact, and it unsettles his car, and around he goes. I'll just point it out, on the timing screen, and by the way, you can keep up to date with live timing, as here comes the replay of Tim Perry. He's got a car there, and yeah, he just gets pushed around. Yeah. So that was a separate one to the incident with Locatello. But Josh Thompson already up to 19th place after starting in the back. He's up 24 places in this race.
That's remarkable after just over 5 minutes of running from the rapid Manxman. And yeah, great recovery as well. And of course, we've got 2 reverse grid draws to worry about between race 2 and race 3. And at the moment, if with Josh Thompson's progress, 19th place, he's certainly putting himself in the reckoning for catching a reverse grid draw and being able to score some really good points from that qualifying ban, which would be a great result for him if he could do that.
As we go through the right-hander then, penultimate corner, final corner, they go. And across the line we go once again. McFarlane, Prada's losing a couple of places, must have had a slowdown penalty there. It's very easily done here. The track limits, you've really got to push the bounds of the limits around here, and one little mistake going into that final corner, you push too far out wide, and then you end up with a slow down penalty, which down that start and finish straight can be brutal to you if you are involved in a close battle. And that allows McFarlane and Aaron Vasquez to go through. Vasquez 4th place. Don't count him out of a potential race win here, but Andretti So far, so good. 3/4 of a second ahead of Alex Davidson in second.
Yeah, Andretti lapping very, very well. His best lap is a 1:28.4. The best lap for Davidson is a 1:28.8. However, that is a little misleading because if you do break track limits, the fastest lap does not count. So it's quite difficult to get a read on who's going quick. Last lap, Andretti was just over a tenth quicker than Davidson, which is impressive considering Andretti will be giving Davidson a little bit of a tow down the straightaway. But it does seem Andretti's trying to make a bit of a breakaway here. It's about 3/4 of a second to the good, and if he can stretch that out just a little bit more, that draft becomes less and less effective.
See, I'll tell how quick this circuit is by the lap times that they are putting in. 1:28 here of a track distance of just about 4.25 kilometers in length. So it shows just how fast and rapid this track is. I mean, they were thinking in Formula One they were going to be touching under a minute per lap around this venue, but thankfully that didn't happen, or else that would have been a little bit silly in my opinion. But still, GT3 cars around this venue in 1:28 is rapid around here, and it goes to show the nature of this venue.
It does, yeah. It is a proper speedrome. I mean, in the MotoGP world, Ducati have been utterly dominant at this circuit since coming back here 6 or 7 years ago, and that's because they have by far the fastest bike in a straight line, and it definitely does play to that, and that the way that you use the slipstream of the car in front can really set up a move as well. They turn 3 a great opportunity to set that up as well, but Andretti defending very well. The only question could be is Davidson just sitting at a comfortable gap? Is he hanging on by his fingernails? He looks at the body language of the car, looks very calm and collected for Davidson. Of course, he is the championship leader, so he's in a comfortable position as far as that's concerned. But I won't want to see Andretti put too much more time in here as well, because that gap is just creeping up towards 9/10 of a second. Last time by, Andretti just pulled another 10th out.
As we focus on the race between Lucas Prada and Jack Sedgwick, and it felt strange this weekend not commentating on Jack Sedgwick in the Porsche Taycan Esports Super Cup. I will say that he's been a fixture and fitting of that series for so long. He is somebody who is a very talented driver. Aaron Vasquez not had the best of luck so far in the championship, but has shown some real potential in his Lamborghini, and the Altus Esports driver, Vasquez, doing a good job so far. 4th place, as I say, just gained 1 place in this race, but very comfortable in his number 44, not the Lamborghini, in the Audi, sorry. It was because of the engine noise.
You automatically go to that choice with that V10 engine. You think how many races that engine design has won, whether it be in a Lamborghini or indeed in an Audi, and you think the amount of road cars that have been sold with that engine as well, between all the various iterations of Lamborghini Huracan and Audi R8 as well. And if my memory serves, they wedged that V10 into an RS6 many moons ago. The slightly different displacement, just slightly lower displacement, but it was the same engine more or less.
I'm glad I'm not the mechanic that has to work on those engines, because engine bays nowadays are very cluttered, and that thing would be a nightmare. Doing a spark plug change on a V10 in that engine bay would be a nightmare.
You bet it would, yeah. Speaking of spark plugs, the new Porsche 992 GT3R race car, the replacement for the car that Andretti is driving at the moment, it's $1 million invoice for the whole car, and each spark plug is $600.
I'll take 3 cars and then a boatload of spares.
Smith.
Oh man, I remember the Akira Cost team in the British Touring Car Championship, amongst other things as well. So that's a name that I haven't heard for a little while actually.
Akira Smith.
Well, Akira Cost, I'm thinking of the team, but. We're looking further back, by the way. Marvin Lesmallman, 4th currently 12th place, and he's got behind him Daniel Sedgley. Not a fight in terms of class, but certainly Sedgley will want to move forward in his BMW to get himself as many points as possible and to try and catch up to Ethan Critchley, who we did see momentarily on screen. Good to see Critchley giving us his view as well, and he's still got his good luck toilet roll as well, so that's good to hear.
Absolutely, it's exactly what you need. You know, if you have a burst of emotion, or if you're feeling a little under the weather.
Cold.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, Ethan's doing a top job at the moment in the overall top 10 in a field of nearly 50 cars. That's very impressive indeed. Also, Sophia Ridpath, our leader in the AM category, she's in 20th overall. She's held her grid position and leading the way, although Andy Archer is just lurking a second and a half behind, so with 7.5 minutes to go, the pressure is on for that AM class win.
Yeah, and don't forget there's only 3 points separating Sophia and Andy coming into this round of the championship, so definitely we'll be wanting to have a good run of it. We've only lost 1 car so far, and that's Shane Burke from this opening race of the evening. And that's good to see. 49 car grid around here can sometimes get a little bit cluttered, especially at the start of the race. We did see on a 2 instance, but generally speaking, he says right now, the race has been nice and clean, and it's a waiting game at the moment for some, I feel.
Yeah, I think so. I think it is inevitable, especially at turn 1 here. There is, when you try to squish 49 cars through a very narrow piece of tarmac, there is going to be crossovers, there is going to be contact. We got past those, and really in the first couple of laps, a couple of bits of, you know, sloppy contact, but nothing like what we might have seen in the past. So yeah, very good so far. Cedric making a move here on Prada's Mercedes, gets the inside line as well. Can he get the power down on that turbocharged Ferrari? Gets a little bit of a tiny little bit of draft from Vasquez, and that could make all the difference as they head down towards turn 4. And yeah, Cedric does get the job done. Prada gives him the room. Nice stuff from the NX Ferrari driver.
And you notice the leaders have actually made a breakaway. I mean, Anderuti is currently 1.1 seconds ahead of Alex Davidson in second place, so that's really stretched out as the front 3 over the rest of the field, and these 3 then fighting over 4th place as they're coming through towards that penultimate corner. It's such a tricky corner as this, because it's you come over that crest and then throw the car in, and you can't see the corner exit until you're halfway through the corner in that penultimate one. Real challenge out there, but yeah, those 3 still fighting on.
So Andy Archer's got James Armstrong in front of him to get through if he wants to have a run at the AM class victory. James Armstrong's Brabham Audi, which of course he'd served a qualifying ban, so James definitely making his way through. He's made up, goodness, nearly 30 places. But Sophia Ridpath has actually gone past Pete Harrod as well, so she has quite a bit of kind of rear gunner behind her, so the gap has actually increased. Ridpath has increased her gap back to Andy Archer.
Jordan Johnson as well, fighting away with Marvin Lesmolman and Hunter McDaniel as they're heading on down towards turn number 4. Onto the brakes, and Johnson will go through. Yes, no, the car in front, McDaniel is around now. Was that contact, or was it all on their own? We'll have to wait and see on that one. There's McDaniel, and the problem for McDaniel is there's not really a gap out there for him to spin around in.
No, he's got to wait for all the field to come through, or at least wait for a huge gap to be able to. He'll have the right hand down on that car, ready to gas it up and flick turn around. Oh, he's gone for a reverse. That's an interesting strategy. Because the result is the same. He's still got to wait for a gap.
Well, there's nothing where he would go.
Oh, he's just starting to get loose. and that just checked him up just enough to get a nudge from the SimLab car.
Yeah, I think it was just that curb, wasn't it, that unsettled it. Oh, Ben Palmer's on pit road now. What's happened to Ben? Don't
Could
say
be
that he's got
drive-through
himself
for
the drive-through. He
incident.
has. Sophia Ridpath has a drive-through penalty. Oh my goodness. That's the leader in this race has a drive-through penalty. It's incident points.
Yep, so incident points can be handed out for breaks in track limits, spins, or contact with other driver with a ratcheted up number of points accordingly to the offence. And drivers get a certain number that they can hit, and here at the Red Bull Ring it's always known for high numbers of incident points for both the contact and the breaks of track limits. So Sophia Redpath with 2.5 minutes to go, she'll have known she'd been close as Jack Sedgwick goes past Vasquez for 4th position. Great move from the Ferrari driver, but that's heartbreaking for Sophia Redpath, Paul, and that might well make her miss the reverse grid for race 2 as well.
I'll tell you what, Sedgwick has done a good job there to get ahead of Vasquez in that Ferrari, and you're absolutely right, Peter. The track limits here are brutal. Adam Watson, I could tell you, did have a drive-through earlier on, but I'm not surprised with the number of spins and contacts that he'd had in the opening of this race. But yeah, it's a real challenge to keep yourself under that instant point limit, and the thing that Sophia needs to do is actually come down pit road and serve that penalty, or else yeah, that's good, that's clever, because if you try and just take the penalty at the end of the race as a time penalty, it is brutal here, and you would lose so many places, a lot more than what Sophia's going to lose with doing the drive-through itself.
Well, Andy Archer can't relax too much because he's just got 1.6 seconds back to Adam Hedgecock. However, Harold Stadler in the Pro-Am class is between them, so there is a little bit of a rear gunner for Pete Harrod. For Andy Archer. But yeah, he can't afford to lift off too much because Hedgecock is right there in his Altitude Esports Ferrari. But what a shame for Sophia Ridpath, and that is going to be that's going to be a whole night now of just fighting back from that, because it's very unlikely she'll catch a reverse grid. She's now running in 28th position, so it's very, very unlikely to get a reverse grid.
She is still in... Oh! James Buemi finding a new line through turn 7 there, and we'll see. Yeah, I think there was just the slightest of rubs that unsettles the car, and fortunately there is that service road there that you can run down. Jordan Johnson now has come down onto pit road. That's not a drive-through penalty, so that must be damage. But we are on to the final lap of the race. This has been a sort of steady bubbling away race, and then it's really picked up at the end with some drama and excitement here. But Leandro Andaruti, what a opening race for the evening for him.
Yeah, quite remarkable. Running as a privateer, one of the very few privateers in the field, means he's got to do all the setup work, all the practice work on his own. He's not got anyone to give him a draft in qualifying or anything like that. He is just ploughing on in the ambitious privateer black colours there, and he's dominated. This has been a classy drive from Leandro Andaruti. 1.9 seconds to the good from Alex Davidson, who actually is under pressure from his teammate here, Paul, for second place.
As we go to the penultimate corner then, so Leandro Andaruti won the opening round of the championship in an endurance race. We didn't know how that Porsche was going to behave in these sprint races. Well, it's behaved beautifully across the line, and a race win here in the opening race of the night for Leandro Andaruti.
Great stuff then.
Yeah, Davidson just hangs on to second place ahead of Ross McFarlane.
Yeah, that was he had him under the cosh though as well, did McFarlane. Very, very close indeed. But Ethan Critchley, the number 97 Century Sim Racing Audi, takes the win in Pro-Am, and it's going to be double delight for Century Sim in Pro-Am, with Andy Archer just taking it at the death there as well. But spare a thought for Sophia Ridpath. That was agony to lose it with just a few minutes to go.
There was a final drive-through penalty given on the last lap of the race for Jordan Johnson. So we're going to have to wait until everybody does cross the line before we actually get a full confirmed result here in this race. But track limits, I mean, people, it's one of my favourite subjects, and I am an advocate for strict track limits. People need to learn to stay between the white lines, and the reverse grid has been drawn, and it's number 19, so we will, when we go through the results, we'll confirm that for you. But my goodness, that was a dramatic end to that opening race of the evening, and we should be able to now give you your unofficial race results for race number 1 of the evening, and it is Leandro Anderuti, the privateer, who wins that one ahead of the Pure Sims esports teammates of Alex Davidson and Ross McFarlane in 2nd and 3rd place. Jack Sedgwick is 4th ahead of Aaron Vasquez, with Lucas Prada, Christoph Krekas, Fabio Umvedros in 8th, and then the first of your Pro-Ams, Ethan Critchley for Century Sim Esports, finishing in 9th place, a top 10 finish for the Pro-Am driver ahead of Marvin Lesmallman. Daniel Sedgley is 2nd place for Platinum Racing Team in Pro-Am, ahead of Josh Thompson, with Tom Brown for Brabham Esports hitting Sid 3rd in class in 13th. Justin Claessens with Kevin Bellens, James Blamey, who was the top Pro-Am in qualifying, down in 16th in the end ahead of James Armstrong. Pete Harrod is going to be sharing the front row with Harold Stadler from Brabham Esports hitting Sid. He will have pole position in the 2nd race of the evening. Andy Archer is your top AM driver, finishing in 20th place, ahead of Adam Hedgecock, your next AM driver, 2nd place in class for the Altitude Esports Blue driver. Richard Simner in 22nd, ahead of Jensen Adriansons, who started at the back of the grid with a penalty, gained 24 places in that race and finishes 3rd in class in AM, ahead of Joe Newman. Dariah Adriansons with Ashley Finch, Tim Perry, Lars Van Rijn, Ryan Martin and Aaron Rose rounding out the top 30. Dan Blackwell in 31st ahead of David Valls, with Paul Crawford, Mark Woodhouse, Massimo Locatello, who had that contact up at the hairpin at turn number 3 ahead of Jack Osborne, Hunter McDaniel, who had that issue down at turn 4, drops all the way down to 37th. Ben Palmer, Ben Gregory and Sophia Ridpath down to 40th in the end there. Paddy Faulkner, Maciej Sakovic, Brian Sohn, Jeroen Kaiser, Jordan Johnson is classified on the lead lap but down in 45th. 1 lap down was Adam Watson, and then those drivers who did not finish: Daniel Nault, Cody Crossgrove and Shane Burke. Leandro Anderuti as well with the fastest lap of the race there in the opening race here of the evening. But well, Peter, I mean, I don't know about you, but the opening of that race, it was exciting to start with, and then it just calmed down a little bit. Everybody seemed to get into a bit of a routine and a rhythm, and then just all heck broke out at the end.
Yeah, it did, didn't it? It's and you got to take your hat off to Anderuti as well, because he did that fastest lap of the race with no draft as well. Everyone else was in the draft and he wasn't, and that was a really classy drive as well, really impressive as well, and goodness knows what he can do in race 2 and race 3. He'll have a bit of work to do, of course, cutting through the pack, but showing very, very good pace in that Porsche. Incredible that he is the only Porsche in the field, as he spotted something that nobody else has seen.
Yeah, it seems to suit his driving style, certainly, and really suits him. It'll be interesting to see how he goes through the season, because, of course, don't forget, there will be one of the iRacing quarterly builds come up partway through the season, and that can really throw a cat amongst the pigeons, can't it, with drivers' car choices in this series?
Oh, it can. I think it's one of the biggest moments of the season as well, to see how that changes. We saw it last season with the Porsche going from not really being overly competitive to being really, really the car to have in the last few races. I mean, who could forget at Spa when Josh Thompson just disappeared into the distance? So we'll see. There's a good mix around the rest of the field. You know, we've got Ferraris up there, we've got Audis up there, the Mercedes is still in with a shout, 1 or 2 BMWs as well, but a couple of Lamborghinis also. So no, I think we have a good mix, but everyone will be keeping their fingers crossed that come build day that their car is still the way they want it to be, because of course sometimes the the changes on the simulator, where it evolves all the time. It's a kind of living organism almost, and the way that the setups work, sometimes you have to throw your setups in the bin and start again, and that can be a effect as well, because Leandro Andretti might have just an absolute dynamite setup that just works right for him at the moment, and it could be that he has to start from scratch again. But that is the cards that we have dealt with us in virtual racing.
Yeah, it certainly is. I'm just having a look at my timing screen, by the way, because from race number 1, we mentioned about Josh Thompson. 31 places he gained in the end of that race. He was the biggest mover in the field. James Armstrong was able to gain 27 places. Now, interestingly, James, the Brabham Esports driver, will be starting on the second row of the grid behind Pete Harrod, former champion, of course, in this series is Pete, and Harold Stadler, one of the Brabham Esports Hissing Sid cars. So the two Brabham Esports teams out of the same awning certainly got a great opportunity here in race number 2.
They do, yeah, for sure. I mean, you got to think, your money's got to be on James Armstrong. His lap times are pretty strong. I mean, he had a lot of cars to get through, so he maybe didn't get the chance of a proper clear lap in that race, but we know how quick he can be. Our own resident Jody Scheckter, and he definitely will have save of the season, probably save of World GT ever. That big slide that he had at Watkins Glen in the opening round, just remarkable how he held on to that one in the Audi. So he's going to be up there, but he is going to have to keep one eye on the mirror with Josh Thompson starting from, I think it'll be the fourth row. I think he'll roll off from. So yeah, he won't be too far. He won't be too far away either. Especially, he looks like he's got a lot of pace tonight. Considering, I mean, you don't make up nearly 40 places for nothing.
Yeah, absolutely, and it just all seemed to work for him, for Josh here tonight. Ethan Critchley, I want to mention Ethan here, mainly because I know his parents are watching right now, but hello to the Critchley family. Ethan, I mean, I'm sure we say this each and every season that we've been commentating on him. What a talent he is, and he's got some incredible pace, considering that he's been placed in that Pro-Am division.
Well, remember, at this point of last season, he was in the AM division, and he got bumped up very quickly. So, as all the praise, we know how much praise he deserves for his driving is superb. However, I'm cautious to give him too much praise, because I don't want us to have some sort of influence on him getting bumped up to pro. Because right now he's outpacing a lot of pros, and to finish in the overall top 10 in this championship in any race, in any grid order, is an achievement. I mean, the depth of field is massive. There's some top teams here, top drivers, and yeah, do you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if he was put up to pro, but that's only been that as a compliment, because he's driving really, really superb and doing a great job for the Century Sim Racing team.
I think especially on a race one of a night as well, when you're racing on pace against everybody else in qualifying position, I think that really says a lot about somebody out there. And of course, a really good night in race number 1 for the Century Sim team, with Andy Archer just missing out on the reverse grid pole, but does get an AM win here in that opening race. They seem to have really dialed in that Audi at Century Sim.
They have, and it has sort of gained a reputation over the last year or two to be a car that really does need taming. It's got a bit of a widowmaker reputation, but again, that's where having a group that are working really hard on their setup to try and find little hints and tricks, because there's got to be a setup that works for it, and they definitely have found something with that car, and have got it dialed in really, really nicely. But that doesn't happen overnight. It's not an easy car to get on with, and they've clearly put the work in to get that pace out of it.
Yeah, certainly. So they're doing a really good job of it. We touched on it during our opening race there. Incident point accumulation. It can be a bit brutal around this venue in terms of the track limits, because you do have to push those track limits so much to the edge at this venue, compared to some other tracks where you've got, grass right up next to the edge of the track, whereas here you've got a lot of runoff in a few places where you can really push those track limits. how important is it for a driver out there to maybe keep a load of instant points in the bag from the start of the race to give you that assurance that you can push things towards the end?
If you can, that's a luxurious place to be, I would say. However, in those early laps, if you're in the middle of a melee and you're going to try and break away and try to escape, it might be where it's just too tempting to just use up one of those off tracks, just run that little bit wide and try and carry a bit more speed, try and make a bit of a breakaway, or maybe it's more in your benefit to actually run off track entirely to avoid an incident, and that of course gives you an off track penalty as well, so you might be forced into using them. So yes, if you can keep them in reserve, it's definitely an advantage to have them in reserve. It's whether you have the luxury to do that or not can depend from circumstance to circumstance. I mean, thinking of some drivers who are going to be starting from, you know, outside of that reverse grid draw, from outside of the top 20, they're gonna need everything in their power to get through those first few laps.
Yeah, absolutely. When you've got that mix-up of a grid where you've got a bunch of the faster drivers starting behind, I'm not going to say slow, but they're slower in terms of one-lap pace, it can mix things up out there, and it can cause a few checkups and incidents for the drivers. You're not missing a thing, by the way. The drivers are just in a warm-up session right now, so stick around for this one. They're going to be going green in about 5 minutes time, so do make sure you stick around. And whilst you're sticking around, why don't you enjoy these products from the series sponsors? Welcome back then to images from the warm-up session here for race number 2 of the World GT Championship this evening. Paul Smith and Peter Mackay here on commentary, and we're going to bring you all the action from tonight's 3 20-minute races. So you do not want to miss a thing for these 2 races, and look at those conditions then. It's gone partly cloudy, so the clouds have come over a little bit, but that track temperature of 43 degrees, even though these tyres are designed to last one stint now, you know, it used to be 2 stints, but it's now 1 stint, you're still going to be feeling a little bit of a loss of grip towards the end of this 20-minute race.
I would think so, and I think you're just going to experience less grip all the way through as well. I think that the track's going to be greasier, the tyre's not going to be able to get that same purchase, that same grip that you can expect, so drivers are just got to bear that in mind, that there won't be quite the optimum grip that there was in race one. Just a little bit of a difference, but enough for the drivers to at least give it the attention. So this 5-minute warm-up session, important for the drivers to get out there and get a little bit of a feel of what the evolving track conditions are like. About 13 degrees Celsius more on the track, so it's 25% more. So they will notice a difference on the ultimate lap time. Alex Davison just setting an indicative lap time in practice there, 1:29.7. That's about a second off what he was doing in race one. So that gives you an idea of the drop off in the actual optimum lap time. So just got to keep that in mind. That there was quite the same grip there was in race one.
Yeah, certainly not going to be that same grip, that is for sure, as we carry on this evening. And well, we've got 40 seconds to the grid, and these drivers, I mean, some drivers like to get a feel of the conditions out there and like to just get a few laps in just to see how the car behaves. Others decide, you know what, I'm taking a break between these two races and having a bit of a chill, and I think that's what a few drivers will be doing as well. That was always personally my approach. It's a case of, look, I've done so many laps of practice that really I don't want to do any more laps than I absolutely have to. So that was always my approach here in this one. But we should be getting ready for giving you the starting grid, and we can tell you that it will be Harold Stadler who does start this race on pole position. He's got a former series champion in Pete Harrod going to be starting alongside him on the grid, and then on the next row of the grid it should be James Armstrong, and we'll get that graphic for you momentarily with James Buemi on row number 2. Row 3, there we go, is Kevin Bellens and Justin Clarsons. Row 4 then is going to be shared by Tom Brown and Josh Thompson, with Daniel Sedgley and Marvin Lesmolman row number 5, with the 6th row of Ethan Critchley and Fabio Unvadros. 7th row of the grid is Christoph Krekas with Lucas Prada, Aaron Vasquez and Jack Sedgwick show up row number 8, with row 9 of Ross McFarlane and Alex Davidson. 10th row of the grid is Leandro Andaruti and Andy Archer. Everyone else starting as they finish: Adam Hedgecock and Richard Simner, with Jensen Adriansons and Joe Newman. Adriansons and Finch then on the next row of the grid with Perry and Van Ryn. 15th row of the grid is Ryan Martin and Aaron Rose. Row 16 for Dan Blackwell and also for David Valls, with Paul Crawford, Matt Woodhouse. Massimo Locatello will be looking for a bit of a hard charge, and Jack Osborne. The rest of your field going through the screen right now, because we're getting ourselves ready for the start of this one. No time for rest now. It's going to be time for some action. Pete, I'm going to put you a little bit on the spot here. James Armstrong, Josh Thompson, or somebody else?
My money's on James Armstrong. I think if in that grid spot he's got to get going and have some help from his teammate Harold Stadler, I think that's my call.
I think Josh could be a dark horse in this one.
Yeah.
Mr. Thompson in that Team Redline car. But we're coming out of the final corner. Harold Stadler is already going. He's gone early in this one. And the Brabham Esports hissing Sid car is underway up towards turn number 1. James Armstrong looking to the inside of Pete Harrod through the first turn, gets the position done. So Brabham Esports 1 and 2 at the front of your field. Do you know what? It brings a little bit of warmth to my heart saying that, as they come up towards turn number 3 then, onto the anchors for the first time properly into this corner. We've got a bit of a dive. James Buemi making moves. There's Jack Sedgwick in the middle of the order right now in 15th, with Aaron Vasquez right in front of him. Thompson already up 2 places into 6th place. Armstrong to the lead. I think Harold Stadler went, do you know what? I've not got the pace that you have. You go in front and set the pace for the rest of us.
Yeah, I think that's a great call there. A little bit of, I think, team coordination, and I think it's just the way to do it. Put your fastest driver at the front, and if Stadler can hang on to James Armstrong, he'll be in for a very strong result indeed. But that's exactly what... Oh, spin! Now, who is that? It's, one of the BMWs.
Sedgley.
Yes, he was. He was off as well in the Lamborghini.
So Daniel Sedgley, they are dropping him way down, but Unvatros is all the way to the back of the field. Vasquez, yeah, Aaron Vasquez. So, four wide! Oh, into the wall! Who was that?
An Audi.
Yeah, it was an Audi. It was
that doesn't narrow it down much at this season, but...
but four wide going into the penultimate corner. I mean, it's not the wisest of moves, let's just say that.
It doesn't stop people trying for some reason, though, but, well, it's working out perfectly for James Armstrong. Several high-profile names hitting problems there as well. Vasquez probably being the most of them. Jack Cedric is in the pits. So Jack Cedric's in ex-Ferrari is and Locatello. So yes, there's a lot of top-level drivers. Good start though from Josh Thompson in the red line Audi. Just sit back a shot there. He's up into 5th already. So he'll be looking to try and make some moves and try and get onto the case of Armstrong as he can. But great start from Buemi, James Buemi, in the altitude Audi. He's got past Harold Stadler, the man with the finest beard in all of World GT.
I would say in the whole of the world of sim racing.
Oh, I think so. It's that good.
Oh, a bit of a squeeze there between the Brabham Esports Hissing Sid car and one of the... yeah, it was Les Molman, absolutely. Do you know what? I think it might have been Adrianson's who was caught up in that incident. As look, there you go, 4 wide. Do you know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of I'm going to show my age now. Back in 1994 at Silverstone, you had Matt Neal sandwiched by a couple of privateer cars, and he bounced off of both cars in the middle, and then ended up rolling about 7 times down the straight towards Beckett.
Yes, that was a bit of a touring car one there as well, trying to fit too many cars through too narrow a position. It was an Indy Autosport car. Was that his teammate who he was struck by there? Or was that...
Well,
no,
that's a separate incident.
That was... Oh, and Sophia Redpath's in the pits as well.
Yeah.
I think, was that maybe Redpath who made contact there, possibly? So Redpath might be in the pits with damage. I'm putting two together. I'll either make 4 or 14. But it was definitely a BMW.
Oh, you just get the feeling that Stadler's feeling a little bit like a cork in the bottle right now, because Lucas Prada trying to work his way past. So too is Pete Harrod. He's trying to get involved in that. Now, here's an interesting one. Pete Harrod has got 3 Pure Sims Esports cars behind him. Of course, Pete Harrod, a former Pure Sims Esports driver. Null have lost. I'm not saying that there was anything untoward with it. By the way, this is Redpath around the outside and just gets turned and bang, 2 hits into the side of the car. That's why Sophia ended up in the pit lane.
Oh, Sophia's night's gone from hero to zero. Just so quickly it can happen. She looked comfortable in the lead of the AMP-class race in race 1, and then it just... Oh, the drive-through penalty for incident points put her out of the reverse grid draw, and it's just sort of snowballed from there. Great move there from Leandro Andretti, who goes past Ross McFarlane goes past Alex Davidson, championship leader, for 12th position, and Critchley and McFarlane battling away for 10th. They're right up ahead of Andretti as well, and Critchley gets back on McFarlane there. So Ethan Critchley once again mixing it with the pros.
Critchley's not a respecter of other drivers in terms of their stature in the championship, and so he will duke it out and try and get the best result, because right now it's a Pro-Am in 2nd place, Pro-Am's 4th to 6th, 1 in 8, so Ethan Critchley wants to go better. But here's Harold Stadler then, 4th place, there you see, at the wheel, concentrating away. Oh, look how professional that is as well, with the Brabham Esports background as well. That's properly thought out there.
Matching gloves.
Yeah. And
the fan as well. You got to keep the beard at the right temperature. It's got to be at the exactly the right temperature, moisture level. If you don't get a beard like that for free. It takes real maintenance and care. Yes.
That's why I just trimmed mine. I can't do it. I just can't do it that long. But yeah, Harold concentrating, really focused, and taking advantage of the opportunity that has been given to him by starting at the front of the field with that reverse grid draw. That's what you need to do as a pro-am in these situations.
Absolutely, make the very most of that opportunity, as well as Kevin Bellens is making a move in the 43 Lamborghini, the leading Lamborghini at this stage, so up into 6th position.
You just
in fact,
lost
got back to 7th, yeah, by Les Moulman.
Oh,
look at Anderuti up the inside of McFarlane. Oh,
wow! Last of the light breakers. My
that
goodness.
was a block past.
I mean, you've got a downhill braking zone there, so it's not the easiest to judge right, and to get it on the apex there. And Ethan Critchley, well, he doesn't know where to go in all of this, and he's compromised through this section of track right now.
Oof. Yeah, really in the heat of it right now is Ethan Critchley. He's got Ross McFarlane up ahead. He's got championship leader Alex Davison right in behind him, and just hunting down. In fact, Davidson's got big company here from number 65 of Christoph Karekis, and then right behind him is Claessens, yeah.
Claessen's having a good race. It's worth pointing out there as well. James Armstrong still leads this race. 1.4 seconds is that lead over James Buemi, but Josh Thompson is right there with Buemi now, and in fact they've changed positions right now, so the two pros that were starting in that front 10 and now find themselves in 1st and 2nd place. The question now is, does Armstrong have the pace over Thompson? Thompson's last lap, 1:29.9 compared to a 1 minute 30.2 for Armstrong.
Yeah, the lap times are over a second difference compared to race 1. So that added track temperatures really brought the pace down and has reduced the grip. So the drivers are feeling the difference in that track temperature rise that we've had. Thompson is the driver on the move. The gap is one. Oh, Ethan Critchley. Oh, just about hangs on to it, and lucky not to get plowed at halfway to Germany there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think actually if he'd have got hit there with the direction of the track, he would have been punted off to the Hungaroring, wouldn't he? But
true.
Yeah, it's just that side-to-side contact again, isn't it? And well done to hold on to that, Ethan. But that does drop him down the order here in this race. So Critchley, where has that put him? He is, do you know what, I can't see him on my timing screen right now. He is 16th. There we go. I found him in the end.
Yeah, that was a pretty brash move there from the Brabham Esports Audi there of Karekis. Yeah, pretty heavy-handed as Anderuti continues to make moves. He's got the fastest lap of the race again, up into 8th place. He's just gone past Kevin Bellens there in the Lamborghini and immediately covers the inside line very firmly to avoid Bellens striking back at him as well. Stadler trying to hold off Marvin Lesmullen, who goes right around the outside, or does he? Can he get the power down? You know, he goes out onto the dirty part, and Stadler says, no problem, I'll have that one straight back again as well. So, oh no, Lesmullen really deep on the brakes as Stadler goes a little bit wide there as well, so Lesmullen threw it into 4th. What it means though is that James Buemi is leading in Pro-Am in 3rd as well. Great stuff from James.
Has been able to make a bit of a breakaway, hasn't he? He's hanging on to Josh Thompson's car and trying to use him as a way of pulling himself forward and keeping him away from Marvin Lesmullen, who is a man on a charge. He's on a mission, is Marvin, right now, and working his way forward, as he said, to 4th place. There's Lucas Prada making a move on Pete Harrod, and Anderuti will say, oh, thank you very much, I want a piece of the action as well in his Porsche. Porsche versus Audi. Well, have we seen that before? But those two climbing uphill, but that Porsche Anderuti, he has got that thing trimmed out nicely.
Yeah, the Porsche actually, you know, isn't. I don't find it too sensitive to the aero changes, so if you have to run it on low aero, it still handles nicely compared to the high downforce trim. So he's obviously got it, yeah, just running really slippery, and yeah, performing very well in the straights, getting good acceleration. The gap is coming down at the front though. James Armstrong is being caught by Josh Thompson. That is down to 1.3 seconds. So Thompson is getting closer, and you know, he's bringing Boemi with him. So Boemi has done a great job to hook his tow hook into the back of Thompson's red line Audi, and he's dragging up to the front of the field. There's still 8 minutes to go. There is plenty of time here for Josh Thompson to catch Armstrong. We could have a proper grandstand finish here, Paul.
Oh yeah, and with Thompson behind the wheel, you know it's going to be grandstand, that is for sure. It'll be entertaining. As Anderuti then up to 7th place, as we see, fastest lap of the race. Your top AM in the field, it's worth pointing out, Andy Archer 17th, so a gain of 3 places for Andy in this race, and he's ahead of Joe Newman, who's in 20th place overall. So yeah, that's good positions for Andy, although saying that, he gets a slow down penalty right as I mentioned him. So commentator's curse strikes once again, and that means that Joe Newman in that 3M UK car is now going to take the AM lead.
Great stuff then. Great stuff. So it's game on at the front in AM.
In fact, third place.
Big block there. Huge block there from Joe Newman. Covers off Andy Archer into the braking zone as well. That was pretty firm.
And you've got Adriansons has joined them in that as well. Adam Hedgecock. So the top 4 in AM are all together on screen right there. All line astern, all trying to duke it out for that position. So that's going to be enough one we've got to keep an eye on throughout the rest of this race, because there's some really big points on offer for those drivers. Thompson, he's not really gaining that much. In fact, last lap lost about half a tenth to Armstrong. So I think it might be just a little bit too much too far at this point of the race for Josh.
Oh, I don't know. Don't write him off just yet. Yeah, you're right. It has. Armstrong's definitely responded to the charge from Thompson, but with 6 minutes to go, it would just take just a couple of good sector for Thompson, and then he's in the draft zone. He's just hovering just outside the draft zone now from Armstrong, so if he can start to pick up that draft, that slipstream, it's going to give him a tow and really bring that gap down a little bit as well. There's a big shape moves going on here with the Pure Sims Ferraris, McFarlane and Davidson going past Tom Brown in the number 19 Brabham Audi, who gets it lit up on the curb, and oh, does he keep it out the wall? Just about, but under pressure there, Tom Brown just gets the wheels off and spins up, and a little bit of a half spin there for the Brabham driver.
And that shows as well that if you know, as much as you're needing to abuse the track limits here, you get something slightly wrong, and that's what can happen. You can almost end up at the scene of your own accident. And fortunately for Tom, able to be aware and to get on to the old brakes, react to it, and get that car back under control. Does drop him down a few places, so down to 17th now from where he started in 7th for Tom. So not being the right direction to be going in. Biggest mover in your field, unsurprisingly, is Adam Watson. After a nightmare of a first race, he's up 22 spots. Leandro Andaruti, he's on a charge as well. 15 places just now gained, because Marvin Lesmolman has just had to serve a slow down penalty.
Oh, it's certainly punishing like a drive-through penalty though as well, because yeah, just had to pull over and let Andaruti by. Andaruti absolutely flying, fastest lap of the race, so from 19th on the grid up to 4th, quite a performance as well. 4 minutes and 20 seconds to go, 2.5 seconds up to James Boemi. I think that might be a little bit of a stretch too far as well, but couldn't write anything off for Andaruti right now. And I tell you what, if Andaruti can put a strong result in race 3, Alex Davidson's championship lead could be under threat here after a really good night at the office for Leandro Andaruti.
It's worth pointing out Josh Thompson has closed that gap to a second. with just under 4 minutes remaining. There you see, you can almost play the Jaws music. I mean, we can't because of copyright reasons, but you can almost sense it, you know. And James Armstrong, he'll be just checking his mirrors, checking his little relative box that you got on screen as well, so you can see the time difference between the two of you. But he'll be looking in his mirrors and thinking, that car seems larger than it was in the last couple of laps.
Oh yeah, you bet. And yeah, again, Thompson using all the room and more on the exit then. So if Josh Thompson does have incident points in hand, he can use those and try and run off track and go right to the limit, use them up as much as he can. And yeah, getting right up over the sausage curb there as well. And he is close enough to start pulling a gap now, to start pulling a bit of draft to James Armstrong. They're in identical cars. They'll be set up slightly differently. They'll be set up to the preference of the driver, but in general, very similar straight line speed as well. And I tell you what, Thompson is getting closer and closer and closer here. This has been a great drive. I mean, you mentioned Jaws. Do they get sharks around the Isle of Man? Is he a Manx shark? I think you will get sharks around there. You
do get sharks around there, but not great whites. I mean, if they did get great whites around the Isle of Man, I'd be a little bit concerned.
But they've got lost.
Yeah, they took a wrong turn at the Mediterranean and ended up around the Isle of Man. Thompson closing up now, is within 0.8 of a second of James Armstrong, so that is really coming down as that, but time is running out. And as the great Murray Walker used to say, you know, catching is one thing, passing is quite another. And he also said that the car that we're looking at is completely unique, apart from the car in front of it, which is actually absolutely identical.
Which is absolutely true in this case as well.
Yes,
both Audis, but both have good different paint schemes and have different setups in the car, and of course a different driver as well, which can make a difference. But Thompson's getting closer for certain. Last time by, he pulled out. He's just hovering around the 130, and yeah, just pulled out about a 1/10.5 there from Armstrong, and he's just getting closer and closer. And we're gonna get one more lap at the line as well. So they're on to the penultimate lap now, and I tell you what, Thompson is closing, and I think, you know what, Paul, I think he might be close enough to have a go, and Josh has got to try and make up some points after the first couple of rounds.
It goes from bad to worse for Locatello. He's got a drive-through penalty. It's just flashed up on my end, so drive-through penalty for Locatello. It's not been his night, that's for sure. But these two at the front giving us some good racing. I can tell you that fight for AM lead, Joe Newman's actually pulled away a little bit in AM and has broken away from the other three drivers. So 19th for Joe Newman, and your top Pro-Am is still James Buemi. Third place, okay, has dropped off of the back of Thompson, but Thompson is one of only a handful of drivers who is getting into the 129s here at the end of the race.
Yeah, very, very few have been able to dip under that 130 mark at any point of this race, showing how much that track temperature has made a difference. We saw plenty laps under 129 in the last race as well. And again, Thompson's getting closer. He's pulled another... in fact, he's pulled out over 2/10 on that last lap. So yeah, very, very close. And we're on to the last lap now as well, but are there any opportunities left for Thompson? As you said, Paul, he's caught Armstrong, but is he close enough to make a move and gets a good? Is he going to get a good exit out here? Then he's on a run.
He's got the slipstream, that is for sure. He is closer, but is he quite close enough? I don't think he is, you know. I think it's going to be a tall order to make the move on James into turn 4. No move forthcoming. Now, he needs to try and force a mistake from James Armstrong in front. He needs to try and get himself an opportunity, open that door. Armstrong taking the slightly wider line into that turn 6 and then 7. Through the left, through the right. It's just right-handers to the end of this race right now. The Brabham Esports team versus Team Redline to the end here. There's 0.4 of a second between them. Thompson's not been able to get up just close enough through the final corner. Can they keep it in track limits? The answer is yes, and it's going to be James Armstrong, a winner once again in the World GT Championship in that Brabham Esports car.
Brilliant drive there from both Armstrong and Thompson, but Armstrong just hanging on under pressure at the end, and superb drive from our Pro-Am winner James Boemi for Altitude Esports Audi. Superb stuff as well, and superb stuff for 3M UK's Joe Newman, who wins in the AM class just from Andy Archer. Adam Hedgecock continues his great night at the office in the Altitude Ferrari, finishing there in third spot, just ahead of the very brightly coloured Jensen Adriansons.
Certainly, last few cars are coming through here to finish this race. Cars that have got themselves involved in a couple of things, and across the line they will all come, and well, we'll get another reverse grid draw underway in just a few moments. In fact, there it is already. And we'll get to see what our final reverse grid of the evening will be. Of course, another 20-minute race coming up for you. Oh, and it's just one higher. It's 20th is going to be pole position. And I tell you what, if you're an AM driver right now, and in fact the AM winner of Joe Newman, you are dancing with joy about that one. But let's have a look at your unofficial race results from race number 2 of the evening. And that is James Armstrong for Brabham Esports, who wins that one ahead of Josh Thompson in his Team Red Line car. In second place, the leading leading Pro-Am, should I say, James Boemi in his Altitude Esports car, is also on the third step of the podium overall. Great result for James there. Leandro Andaruti, great fighting drive through to finish in fourth place ahead of Marvin Lesmallman. Lucas Prada and Ross McFarlane and Alex Davidson all together as a team in 6th, 7th and 8th, with Christoph Krekas in 9th, and Harold Stadler, after starting on pole position, does finish 2nd in Pro-Am, so congratulations to Harold on getting a Pro-Am podium. Pete Harrod rounds off that Pro-Am podium in his Century Sim racing car in 3rd place in class, 11th overall ahead of Kevin Bellens, Justin Clarsons, Richard Simner, Tim Perry, Ethan Critchley, who had the big save that he had to do, just finishing ahead of Tom Brown. Daniel Sedgley 18th. Look at that front row of the grid. Started 2nd on the grid is Aaron Vasquez, but in pole position, and your AM winner for this race, Joe Newman, finishes 20th and will have pole position for the final race of the day. Andy Archer finishes 2nd in class in AM in his Century Sim Esports car, ahead of Adam Hedgecock in his Altitude Esports blue car, 3rd in class. Dariah Adrianson is just missing out on that AM podium in 23rd overall. Adam Watson 24th ahead of Jordan Johnson. Lars van Rijn, Dan Blackwell, Cody Crosgrove, Fabio Unvadros, who didn't have the best of races there in 29th, and Jack Sedgwick rounding out your top 30. Hunter McDaniel, we saw with the incident, had to make a recovery drive, does in the end, finishing 31st ahead of Magic Sakovic with Patrick Faulkner and Paul Crawford. Jensen Adriansons, after an incident in that race, finishes 35th ahead of Ashley Finch. Ben Gregory, Jeroen Kaiser, Sophia Ridpath and David Wiles round out your top 40. Then the final page of results. Aaron Rose with Daniel Nault, Matt Woodhouse, Massimo Locatello and Brian Sohn. Jack Osborne was one lap down, and then the rest did not finish. Ben Palmer, Shane Burke and Ryan Martin. Wow, so that is race number 2 in the books, and that is another really good result for Brabham Esports, getting the win there. And worth pointing out, as has been brought up in chat, 3 Brabham Esports cars in the top 10 of that result.
Yep, they're continuing to grow their presence. They turned up in the World GT Championship last season as well, and they were a fantastic addition. It's great to see that organisation growing all the time, and you know, we see many names that are familiar to fans of outdoor racing turning up in sim racing. You know, Williams would be one. You know, we see plenty of others as well coming into the championship and into virtual motorsport as a whole. I mean, you look at Team 75 Bernard, they're paired up with Sim RC. There are many examples. but it's great to see that the proper names that any motorsport fan would recognise as well. But we're waiting on you, Penske, Ganassi, Rahal. That's we want to see here as well. Come and join the party.
Do you think Roger Penske would embrace getting involved in the team side of a organisation?
Do you know? I've said it on commentary before. I would love to see what an organisation like Team Penske does when they in virtual motorsport. We have to see how they would do it, because the way they go about outdoor motorsport, they find every single detail to maximise performance, and actually that attitude really works well. That painstaking preparation is exactly what's required in virtual motorsport. So I would really love to see it. I really would, and who knows what might happen in future. But coming back to Brabham, they're doing a great job of growing a group of people as well. And and it's not as if they've come in with a massive checkbook and just hired all the best drivers and said, here we are. They're really building up a group and building and growing speed in each of their drivers as well. I think that's fantastic.
It certainly is, and certainly worth watching for our final race of the evening, which will be coming up in just a few moments' time. But stick around, because we'll be right back after these messages. Welcome back then to our coverage of the World GT Championship here on RaceSpotTV. Paul Smith and Peter Mackay bringing you all of the exciting action here from this championship. Always good to hear from our Spot Series sponsors as well, and it's worth pointing out, 3M getting involved quite a few seasons ago now, and they've been a loyal supporter, but good to see Simutech getting on board as a new partner this season for their brand. So do check out their products. There will be details on the World Sim Racing website. That's worldsimracing.co.uk, where you can actually keep up to date with all details about not just this series, but also the World Touring Car Series, which actually takes a week off this week. We'll be bringing you action from that in a week on Thursday. So it'll be myself and Peter again on commentary for that. But also coming soon is a new series as well from the World Sim Racing outfit, which is the GR86s from Toyota, Peter. Now that should be entertaining.
That will be fantastic. A car that really has been a superb addition to the iRacing platform. It's one that also comes free with your new membership. So if you're watching and you're on the fence of whether to join up and join us here in the iRacing family, then definitely do so, even just for that little Toyota GR86. It's got the iRacing software engineers have done an amazing job of the handling characteristics of the car, the braking feel, the way it turns, the way it pitches. Really, really nice. I actually saw at Daytona the real life GR86 Cup car. Looks like a wonderful package, and I think it could be a real winner in global motorsport. I think the problem is as well is they can't make these things fast enough. The road car, Paul,
Yeah.
these cars are going for way above their list price because the waiting list is so long, because people really want these fast Toyotas that they seem to be just cracking out these brilliant affordable cars. They're affordable if you get on the list for one.
Yeah.
But they're just cracking them out, you know, the GR Yaris, the GR Corolla, and of course the GR86 as well. But you don't need to be on the waiting list to join in the virtual world with it, and I think it's going to be a great addition. It's going to be quite similar to MX-5 or Miata racing, I think. Lots of drafting, lots of pack racing. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be certainly going to be for whoever our commentary lineup is here on RaceSpotTV. It's going to be we're going to need to catch our breath, that's for sure.
Not that we're trying to fish for gigs or anything, are we, Peter?
I think we've laid the bait there. I think, Paul. I think we've made our we've made our
case
that we'd quite like to do it. Yeah.
We'll look forward to that series. But
message Paul and Peter at commentaryduo.com.
Actually, don't say websites if you don't know if it actually is a website or not. That's a piece of advice for you. I found out the hard way from a stream once. So, yeah.
Paul Hub.
But we've got a minute and a half to go here. We saw that the conditions are actually cooler because we are racing into the evening here. In Sim, it's just coming up to 7 o'clock in the evening. The date in Sim is actually in May, so you will still have sunlight here, but the track is getting cooler, 28 degrees.
Yeah, that's going to make a big difference. So already, I mean, in just in the very first laps in warm-up, already we're well under 1 minute 30. Some drivers setting sort of 1:29.7, 1:29.8. So we should be back to the same pace we saw in race 1 as well. So the drivers, that will be a nice welcome comfort for the drivers, just to have that little bit more grip. And for those who are having to fight through the field, they'll be very glad of that indeed.
Yes, certainly they will be indeed. We're just counting down towards the start of this race, and what an opportunity it is then for the man who won the AM class last race to be starting on pole position for Newman, and 3M will certainly be getting a bit more airtime from him starting on pole.
Quite right, and Joe Newman, I'm sure, will be fitted with the he'll be using the excellent 3M sim racing gloves as well. Gives you great purchase on the steering wheel as well, keeps your hands nice and clean and dry as well, and you don't even need to take them off to message all of your followers and admirers as well. They've got touchscreen material on the fingertips, so you can text with your gloves on.
Absolutely, so do go and check out the 3M gloves as well. But with that, let's go through your grid. It is Joe Newman, Aaron Vasquez, first row of the grid with Daniel Sedgley, Tom Brown, Ethan Critchley, Tim Perry, the next row of the grid. Simner and Clarsons with Bellens and Harrod round row number 5, Stadler and Krekas on row number 6. 7th row for Davidson and McFarlane, Prada and Les Mollman, row number 8, row 9 for Andaluti and Buemi. Row 10 for Thompson and Armstrong. The rest start as they finished. Archer and Hedgecock with Adrianson and Watson. And then Johnson and Van Ryn with Blackwell and Cosgrove. Unverdrus and Cedric round out row number 15. McDaniel Sakovic with Faulkner and Crawford. Adriansons and Finch with Gregory and Kaiser, Ridpath and Vals rounding out row number 20, Rose and Nolt on the next row, and the final few cars, Woodhouse, Locatello, Sun and Osborne. So we'll be getting underway, and the 3M car is taking it nice and steady here. Joe Newman knows what he's doing here. He is just backing the pack up. He is going to go from the last corner, he really will get on it nice and early. He wants to give some space to... Oh, is he going now? I wouldn't say that's a good idea. Well, he's certainly getting a bit of pace up, just to maybe get a bit of heat into those brakes and tyres, and just backing the pack up once again. You've got to be careful when you do that, though, because you can cause some incidents by accelerating and then breaking away. But into the final corner, and Newman isn't hanging around. He's going straight away. We're going to go green flag racing here for race number 3 of the World GT Championship for this evening. Across the line, they all come thundering in towards turn number 1. Vasquez looking early, trying to make some moves. Vasquez for Altus Esports could do a tremendous job of getting himself a race win here. Newman all the way over to the left-hand side. I don't think he's going to fight that one. He's just going to let that one go by. Vasquez to the lead of this race. A little squeeze there. And Daniel Sidgley says, thank you very much. I'll come along in my big BMW.
Yeah, through he goes. Oh, and Jensen Adriansen is parked right in the middle. How have they all avoided him? Incredible. That number 22 Audi for Jensen Adriansen, and he takes the tow. So must have got hit at some point and had damage. So, but Newman, no matter what he did there, he couldn't fool Aaron Vasquez, who hits the front in the Altus Audi. Really, really strong that week. Aaron, he just snuck up on us there, Paul, in that second race. Then, so it's a great opportunity to get a win on the board here and recover from the pain of race 1.
Oh, we've got cars across the gravel.
Who's that across the grass?
I mean, it's not Rallycross here today. It is World GT, I can assure you. And I don't know who it was. It was 2 cars across the gravel, though. Tom Brown, I believe, is one of those cars. And the problem here is it will have a slowdown penalty, but you need to serve it out of that corner and pull over to one side. And we can see one car doing that. I think Caracas was one of those that did that and has suffered the slowdown penalty as Josh Thompson dives to the inside of Caracas then into turn number 1. And do you know what? We've gone 3 lap 1s, not a single safety car, Peter.
Yeah, very impressive stuff from the drivers, because, you know, turn 1 and turn 3, they really are pinch points. You know, decent braking zones with very narrow apex points, as well as Anderuti trying to make some moves as well in that Porsche. He's been superb tonight, a 1st and a 4th place as well. Let's see what he can do in this race. He's now up into 16th position in that midnight black Porsche, and making a big move up the inside there as well on Caracas. And does he get the move done? Oh, spin! Oh, all arms and elbows. There's 2 of the altitude cars made contact as well.
That's Stadler. Stadler's in the gravel.
Don't get sand in the beard.
Oh, yeah, don't get sand in the beard. Yeah, that'd be the worst thing to have happen to that. But they do carry on. Do stay green flag racing then here in the World GT Championship. Through the S's and uphill, up over the crest. We're still going side-by-side action all the way down your field. Lars van Rijn, it's Paul Crawford and Ashley Finch are duking it out behind him.
Well, no such problem for Aaron Vasquez, who leads by 1.2 seconds. Fastest lap of the race straight away, 129.8 for the Spaniard. And the Brabham car, is that car 65 there of, no it's not, it's the 64 of Hunter McDaniel making way through, 31st position. Not been the best night, of course. They all went to pot in race 2, unfortunately, for Hunter, when he got stuck beside the wall.
Vasquez and Sedgley are actually pulling away at the front here. They've got a bit of a gap over Tim Perry, Ethan Critchley and Alex Davidson. Davidson's trying to get himself some points over Anderuti here and trying to make the most of his starting position in this race. But yeah, Perry 3rd place right now for the Pro-Am driver. Newman's dropped down to 7th in all of this. And we had cars sideways with smoke. I don't know who was that. I think David Valls was one of those involved in that incident then. I think another one was Ben Gregory as well. Yeah, certainly. No, it's not been Ben Gregory's season. I think it's safe to say. I think pretty much every race that we've seen so far has been involved in some sort of incident.
Yeah, that's a shame. And of course, Ben Gregory is such a stalwart of the championship. He's competed in every season. As the altitude B&W is trying to make a bit of a low percentage move there and triggers a big part. That was what triggered the pile-up, which caught Stadler et al. Up.
I think Gregory was actually a separate incident in front of them. As there's the Platinum car pulling back onto the track as well. We're back to live pictures now. So, the 666, Marvin Lesmolman is the next one trying to get past Joe Newman, our pole sitter. And there is a Josh Thompson as well. Thompson's in 11th with Lesmolman. Side by side, Lamborghini versus Audi, and the Raging Bull versus the Red Bull car that's Josh Thompson's. Down the inside goes Thompson. Can he make the move? Oh, a little bit of a hip check, but through goes Thompson into 10th place.
Yeah, big. The Raging Bull has got big shoulders there, making the way through. Of course, this is the home race for the Team Redline Verstappen Racing machine of Josh Thompson at the Red Bull Ring, and Lesmolin's not having it. Lesmolin, he didn't appreciate getting barged aside, so Lesmolin in the German sim racing Lamborghini is trying to get a back on touch then with Thompson, and they've got to be careful because look who's in the background there. It's the Porsche of Leandro Anderuti, who's been such a force today. P1, P4, he's in P12 at the moment as you ride on board with the wailing flat six in the background, in the rear of that machine, pushing him down the straightaway, heading down towards turn 3. Very good car under braking, the Porsche. That's where it makes quite a lot of its lap time, and Thompson now making a move on Newman. Now, it's a bit of an awkward position, Paul, for Joe Newman, isn't it? Because he's in 10th overall, he's lost 9 positions, but he's leading the AM class by 12 positions, so he's just got to try and remain calm here as the pros come through.
It's picking your fights, isn't it? Speaking of picking your fights, there's a little bit of a hip check. I think that was James Armstrong on Richard Simner as they go through. So gaining position for both Armstrong and for Clarson's behind him. And Simner won't have appreciated just that little bit of a rub. Only get cars rubbed up like that when they're getting a quick rub of teacup on them, but still, other wax companies are available, by the way. As they go through up in towards the penultimate corner once again, we've got 12.5 minutes remaining. It is still Aaron Vasquez at the front of the field. He's not really pulling away from Daniel Sedgley, so credit to Sedgley where we need to give it, because the Pro-Am driver is keeping up the pace with your race leader. Last lap was only half a tenth off of Vasquez's time, so good stuff from Daniel. Tim Perry in third with Ethan Critchley in fourth, with Alex Davidson 5th place right now. He's gained 8 places as Alex. Josh Thompson's up 10 places into 9th, and just looking down your order, it's still Newman who's your best AM driver, and as you pointed out, Andy Archer. Been a good day for Andy, to be fair, in the AM Championship. He's in second place in AM, but he's down in 23rd.
It's been a good recovery from AM Championship leader coming into this race, Sophia Redpath, who's in 26th overall at the moment. So she's not got the rub of the green with the reverse grids, and is fighting her way back up to try and salvage some points in the AM class. It's been a great night for Adam Hedgecock as well in the Altitude Ferrari, as there's a proper bun fight going on here as well. Jack Sedgwick in there, Richard Simner in the bright yellow and blue Audi, who Richard Simner actually got some custom made 3M gloves made in the DCWR colours as well, so you can get the whatever colours you like from the 3M website. They'll make your custom gloves. You can put your name on them as well, and they're known to take a second or two off your laptop. No, but you look good. Yeah, but you look good.
No, it's a RaceSpotTV logo that gives you a good couple of tenths per second. Of course,
yes.
Don't forget that. Yeah. As they come across the line once again, and this is a real gaggle of cars, isn't it, that's coming across the line then. So Sedgwick moving ahead only to 17th, but he has gained 13 places as Cedric. Oh, a little bit of a kiss and a rub. And Krekas is going to go through as well on Jordan Johnson. And James Buemi, who of course finished 3rd place in that second race of the evening, down in 20th place and just not moving forward at all in this race, although we'll give a little bit of a look to the inside, but no move forthcoming for James there in 20th place. So we're seeing plenty of movement in and around the field. Speaking of movement, Leandro Andaruti has just gained a place up into 10th place over Marvin Lesmolman. So Andaruti, that Porsche is just singing to him.
Yeah, it's a combination, isn't it? You know, Andaruti is driving superbly. We saw Andaruti 2 seasons ago raced a couple of rounds in an Audi and was very fast, but couldn't quite deliver and the results of various things went wrong. But yeah, for whatever is clicking between that Porsche and Leandro, it really seems to be going well. And at this stage of the championship, Paul, how do you pick a favourite at this stage? I mean, there's so many drivers who could stake a claim for a championship charge. This is going to roll on all season long.
I think also the thing that we've got to think of with Leandro as well, he was a little bit wild with his driving, wasn't he, a couple of seasons ago? I think he's driving a bit more mature this season. You know, having stepped away for a season, come back this season, is actually doing a very good job, as we're seeing that tussle for 3rd place overall between Critchley and Perry, and Alex Davidson is behind. But I think we've got to give a little bit of credit to Leandro Andaruti for getting that under control, because it's easy to, well, no, it's not easy to be quick. It's easy to be quick over one lap. It's getting that to follow on lap after lap after lap and recognising potential situations that could get you into trouble.
Yeah, no question about it. Leandro Andaruti's come back a far more complete driver, and probably with even more pace again as well. So yeah, quite an ominous package as well, as the move there from Alex Davidson goes past Ethan Critchley, and Critchley just hooked right in behind Davidson as well. Critchley just looks so comfortable running up amongst the pros in that number 97 Century Sim Racing Audi. Has a quick look at it, you can see the eyes glancing at the mirror, the virtual mirror, and looking at the times. A quick chat to the spotter as well. Relationship between driver and spotter, very, very important as well, to get the very most out of the performance. Having an understanding of how much chat, you know, you'll see a lot of drivers in IndyCar and NASCAR, they're used to constant feedback all the time. Hurley Haywood, he had a standing agreement with his spotter as Alex Davidson having a big look at the inside of no, that's McFarlane, excuse me.
Perry. It was
I was right the first time. Yeah, Davidson goes past Perry. But yes, Hurley Haywood, he had a standing agreement with his spotter. He says, do not speak to me on the radio unless I am on fire.
That's one way of doing it. I mean, personally, whenever I've had the opportunity to have somebody spot for me, it's just been a case of just short, sharp little bits of information. You know, 2/10 quicker than car in front, or car behind gaining a tenth. Just short, sharp information, because when you concentrate, when you're behind the wheel and you're using so much of your brain function to concentrate on your driving, looking for your braking markers, looking for turn-in points and your apex, and if you're fighting with somebody, you're concentrating on not making contact with them and where their car is as well. You only take in those little bits of short, sharp information. You can't have somebody having a long conversation like it's test match special.
Some people quite like that when I'm doing endurance races. I like the company. Yeah. I like the company. When we were doing the Daytona 24, it's quite good when you're doing a triple stint in the night at Daytona 24 to have a good natter. Although I did last Daytona 24, I did miss. I managed to eke it round and nearly missed. I missed my pit box and then had to go all the way around, and luckily had just enough petrol left. Move going on here between Critchley and Tim Perry. This is a very important for the Pro-Am points as well. And Ross McFarlane, trying to find his way through in his number 1 Ferrari, but cannot find a way because there's 2 Pro-Ams in the way. But there might be a door opening up now, Paul. Nope.
Oh, I don't know. Well, he's trying to follow Perry along here, but Critchley's still there on the inside. Well, they're still going to go side by side. This is the problem for McFarlane, and everybody else behind is just queuing up. And look who's right there. Leandro Androtti's just rocked up onto the back of these, and we've got a huge queue of traffic, all because Perry and Critchley, quite rightly as well, fighting for position for themselves, because remember, whatever position you finish in, whatever class of driver you are the points that you're taking into your championship. Behind, Andretti and Thompson are going side by side as well, so we've got a couple of fights going on into the final 5 minutes.
Yeah, Thompson got a nose up the inside of Andretti and just made it impossible for Andretti to turn in, and Andretti had to give best, but he did get it back again. I think he had to use an off track to gas it up and try and make the most of it. Contact is, oh dear me, a bit messy there as Critchley. Yeah, Tom Brown just driving into the side of Ethan Critchley there. It was a little bit sloppy and no need for that.
Yeah, it was a bit rude, wasn't it? Critchley won't be appreciating that either. There's a bit of squeezing going on there. Into the brakes for 4. Now there's a bit of a rub back as well between the two of them. There. And look who's coming through. Andretti, thank you very much. Ever the opportunist. I'll take those places from you.
Oh, that's brilliant opportunist driving there from Andretti. As Critchley's got to be careful here, not rack up any incident points for contact, because he doesn't want to end up with a drive-through penalty here and tumble down through the order. But Critchley's managed to see off Tom Brown, but he was look at how his arms were just crossed up there on the brakes. That Audi was absolutely locked up, crossed up on. He did very well to keep it out the fence.
I can't tell you, by the way, speaking of drive-through penalties, Cody Crosgrove, who is further down your order, has got a drive-through penalty. So Crosgrove will be taking a trip down the lane. Rest of your drivers, though, continuing on. 3 minutes remain as the sun is setting here at the Red Bull Ring in the Styrian Mountains. And we've got Josh Thompson looking to make the move on Ethan Critchley, and Lucas Prada behind is trying to follow him through here. Onto the brakes down the inside. Well, Thompson gets by. Prada doesn't, and there's contact behind. And who was that? That's Les Moorman.
Oh dear. He does get back going again, but that was a pretty hard hit into the wall. I'd be hoping he doesn't have the mechanical meatball flag telling him that he must come into the pit lane to get it repaired. But Les Moorman tumbles down the order then. This is what happened. He contact with Tom Brown. Tom Brown just loops it on the curb and runs into the side of Les Moorman. Nothing Les Moorman could do there at all. He'd given enough room, and yeah, completely innocent. Yeah,
innocent party there, but unfortunately these incidents do happen, and that's the thing, you know, it's all well and good be saying, oh, you know, Tom Brown should have done better there, but it's that curb. When you get over that curb, it can just unsettle the car, and we saw it in the previous race as well, didn't we, that you just unsettle that car, it half spins, and you're into the side of the car that's alongside you.
Well, I mean, you've got two completely different wheel speeds. You know, the level of adhesion on the tarmac and on the painted curb are very different. So if you've got one power wheel, you've got the left rear wheel on the curb and the right rear wheel on the tarmac. Those two wheels are going to spin at different speeds, and therefore the car fires to the right. So it can easily happen. It doesn't need much when you're running in close proximity. As Prada goes past Critchley, Critchley just lost the rhythm a little bit. These are all pro cars going past him though, but it does mean that he's now under threat from Tom Brown, who's looming in his mirrors there.
Don't forget though, Ethan Critchley did finish in 9th place in the opening race of the evening, so it'd be a little bit of symmetry for him to finish in 9th in the final race of the evening here. Prada doing some good work in that Mercedes. He is the sole Mercedes out there as well, so doing it on his own in that car. We're going to get one more lap at the line. It's from your leader, who, by the way, we've barely mentioned. Aaron Vasquez At the front, there he is. Well, it's been a nice Thursday evening drive up there for the Altus Esports driver.
Has indeed. So yeah, just one more lap to go for the Spaniard. He's opened up a gap of 2.7 seconds from Daniel Sedgley, driver who we haven't mentioned at all in this race, and he's really done a good job. He's in one of the very few BMWs in the field, and he's there in second position and holding off nicely. He's got a second and a half back to Alex Davison, so a clean lap here as well, and he'll get that Pro-Am win and an overall podium. Very impressive indeed from Sedgley. But Anderuti's not finished. He's there in sixth, but he wants fifth overall. He wants to make it 3 top 5 finishes for the day.
Late.
That's late. Oh,
that is late. Didn't quite work out for you, Leandro, but it's going to get another opportunity down towards turn number 4 then, as they come over the top of the hill, plunge down into turn number 4, and no move made on Tim Perry there, so not able to get by. But Perry slow on corner exit, and Anderuti trying to find a way past. Can he go the long way round? The answer is that Porsche says yes. Yes, he can. He's got to go the long way round again around the next corner. And you know what? He's gone and done it. My goodness. Great move there from Leandro Anderuti. But meanwhile, at the front of your field, Aaron Vasquez, there he is on screen, is going to be a race winner. A pump of the fist. He's happy. It's a race win for the Altus Esports driver. Vasquez across the line.
Superb stuff there from Aaron Vasquez. Really good drive for Altus Audi, and he's a dark horse for the championship as well. He's shown he's got pace as well. Just got to get a bit of the rub of the green. Is Joe Newman going to hang on for the AM class win? Yes, he is. So he gets the win again. 2 wins from 3 for Freem UK and Joe Newman. He played every trick in the book at the start, and made the most of that advantageous grid position. Jack Sedgwick gets the best lap of the race in the Ferrari. So yeah, 3 different manufacturers taking wins in those 3 different classes.
Daniel Sedgley, it's worth pointing out, finishing second overall then in the end, and is your best Pro-Am driver. He's already pulled over and got out of his car, because it's been a hard night of racing for a few of these drivers out here, and certainly it's been tremendous entertainment. Glad to have you all along with us for the ride as well. So it is Vasquez who does win in the Altus Esports Audi. He gets a win of 3 seconds over Daniel Sedgley, who's your top Pro-Am driver in the Platinum Racing Team BMW. Alex Davidson for Pure Sims Esports finishes 3rd overall, ahead of his teammate Ross McFarlane. Again, those two could not be separated all evening. Leandro Anderuti, well, 3 top 5 finishes in a row. Great stuff from Leandro, who did actually get the move done with that sensational move around the outside of Tim Perry, who finished 2nd in Pro-Am for the Altitude Esports Blue driver. Josh Thompson able to get up to 7th ahead of Lucas Prada. 3rd place in Pro-Am is Ethan Critchley in that Century Sim Esports car, with Tom Brown in 10th place. Then next up is James Armstrong with Justin Clarsons. Jack Sedgwick, we say, fastest lap of the race, finishes 13th, with Christoph Krekus and Kevin Bellens 14th and 15th place. Joe Newman started this race on pole position and played his cards right, was sensible with what he did, and finishes in 16th place, but is the top AM driver out there for the Freem UK team. Marvin Lesmolman, Jordan Johnson, James Buemi and Pete Harrod round out your top 20. Richard Simner in 21st, and then Dan Blackwell, another Freem driver, finishes 22nd, 2nd in class in AM, ahead of Andy Archer of Century Sim Esports, 3rd in class. Ashla Finch, Adam Hedgecock, Massimo Locatello, Fabio Unvedros, Paddy Faulkner, Magic Sakovic, Sophia Redpath rounds out your top 30. Aaron Rose 31st ahead of Jensen Adriansons, with Jack Osborne, Lars Van Rijn, Paul Crawford, Euron Kreiser. Daniel Nolt with Hunter McDaniel, Brian Sohn and Adam Watson will be disappointed with 40th place. Ben Gregory and Matt Woodhouse, the last drivers on the lead lap. Harold Sadler did have a drive-through penalty and ends up 1 lap down in 43rd. Drivers who did not finish: David Valls, Cody Crosgrove and Daria Adriansons. Well, there we go. That is your standings from the third race of the evening. And hopefully we will be able to get a chat with a couple of our drivers here. Well, I will say that man of the moment is going to be the guy who finished 5th place in that race. And, well, Peter Mackay, take it away with Leandro Andaruti.
Leandro, welcome to the RaceSpotTV commentary box. That was a superb performance, a win and some top 5 finishes as well. How do you feel about that performance tonight?
Hello guys. I think I couldn't have asked for much more. I think the first race I was surprised that I was pulling away, and the other races were lucky. When you're in the wrong place you could be in the wall, and I was just lucky, and then played my pace pretty good.
And tell us about you're the only Porsche out there in the field. There's loads of Audis, Ferraris, etc., but you're the only Porsche. Do you think you've spotted something that everyone else hasn't seen, or what is it that blends so well with your driving style? Because the pace has been fantastic.
Boy, I cannot tell you, and if I knew what it is, I wouldn't tell it. So yeah.
It's a closely guarded secret. I mean, next round we go to Bathurst in 2 weeks' time for an endurance round. Will you be taking part in the Bathurst 12-hour this weekend as a bit of preparation?
I'm not sure, because me and Bathurst are not good friends. I think the track is a beautiful concept and everything, but I hit a wall every 20 meters, so don't expect me to be good the next round.
Oh, well, we'll have to wait and see. Leandro, congratulations on a super race 1 win and 2 top 5 finishes as well. Well done, and good luck for the next round.
Thank you, guys.
So next, joining us here on RaceSpotTV is James Buemi. James, what a super drive that was in race 3. How did that one feel?
Yeah, it felt pretty good actually. I just sort of had the mentality of just, keep it clean, keep it smooth, don't get involved in too many fights, because I think I was sort of pulling away from that mid pack there, or the pack behind me. Thankfully I managed to keep it smooth. I couldn't keep up with Josh Thompson, sadly, because of I made a couple of mistakes from the rear, like locking up the rears actually. But yeah, it was just keep it smooth and kept it smooth, and that's how I managed to do it. Yeah, so felt pretty good.
Tell us what this Pro-Am battle is like, because there's so many of you up there who can win the class and also score very good results overall, which of course nets a huge bag of points. Just tell us how fierce the competition is in your class.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at the after the penalties were posted up yesterday, I was looking at the championship board, and it's actually in the Pro-Am class it's incredibly close. Like, I think I remember seeing everyone sort of separate. I think the top 5 are separated by like 60-70 points, and we've got like 9 rounds to go, and in World GT, like, anything can happen. Like, I had a sort of, I guess, although I had like a really good race in race 2, race 3 was just a bit, messy in some parts, because you get involved in those midfield fights. So yeah, I'd say the top 5 contenders, like, there's a lot to play for, because it could swing a lot in these early days too.
Yeah, it certainly can. It's going to be, I think it's going to go right down to the wire at the final round. Well done, James, on an overall podium in the last race there. Superb stuff, and good luck for the next round at Bathurst.
Thank you very much, and see you next time.
So, joining us now, our final guest this evening, Lord Hedge himself, Master Simtographer. Hedge, that was a great night at the office, wouldn't you say?
Oh, you're too kind, sir. Master Commentator, great work last weekend. Was it last weekend? weekend before, whichever it was in Daytona.
Yes.
Very good work. I enjoyed
Thank you.
But yeah, no, it was a good night. A couple of class podiums and a P4. It was it was real nice.
And what was the secret tonight? Was it the setup? Was it practice? Was it raw luck? What was the secret to those 3 proper good results tonight?
I think there was definitely a bit of luck going on there. There was a few incidents early on in all of the races that took some avoiding, but once that had got out the way, it was just down to the practice at that point. Like get your laps done. You know the track, you know what times you're supposed to be getting. Go get them, and that was the mentality. And fortunately, it brought the good results.
And most importantly, we know you for your wonderful fish tank, or your supporting your supporters club that operate under the water. How are the fish? How are they doing?
The fish are good, although one of the cats has taken a liking to the tank and thinks it's some kind of interactive television.
As long as the cat doesn't jump in, then it's okay.
They haven't so far. I'm waiting though.
Oh, well, I hope we don't catch that on stream. That would, think of the views though. Not so good for the fish, but for the views, fantastic. No, you need to get a cage on top of the tank so the cat doesn't get in.
I don't know, catfish, they're a thing, right?
Yes, they are. They are. Brilliant stuff tonight, Hedge. Keep up the good work on the snaps as well. Looking forward to seeing them for tonight.
Awesome, thank you, dude. And great work. As always, can't wait to watch it back tomorrow.
There
So
we
Lord
go.
Hedge, Mr. Fish Tank himself.
Yeah, absolutely. Always entertaining to speak to Adam, that is for sure. So yeah, you mentioned it in one of the interviews there. We've got a week off next week, and then in 2 weeks' time, February the 20th, we head on up to Circuit Mount Panorama. I mean, talk about one of the most challenging circuits in the whole of the world motorsport. It's this venue.
Oh, no doubt about it. Yeah, I remember watching the Michael Fassbender Road to Le Mans documentary recently, and Matt Campbell saying, there's 3 circuits. There's Le Mans, there's Bathurst, and there's the Nürburgring, and maybe add Macau into that as well. I mean, it is nasty. If you make one slight mistake, your race is done. And likely, the 10 cars following behind you, their race is done also. So there is an element of luck involved at Bathurst. There really is. There's going to be a lot of track time for those taking part in the Bathurst 12-hour, the official event on iRacing. We'll have all the coverage of that on Saturday here on RaceSpotTV. So those who take part in that event, they're going to have an advantage, I think.
They certainly are, but it's worth remembering as well. I think the last time that we came to Bathurst here in this series, we ended up with 2 safety cars in a row.
We did.
So let's hope that we're going to get a good night like we saw tonight. Just final thoughts about tonight, Peter, because I thought actually the racing was really top quality tonight.
It was, yeah, very good, and it's not an easy track to race at, Red Bull Ring. It's really easy to get into silly incidents very much, and yeah, I think it was fantastic. Man of the meeting, it's got to be Leandro Andaruti. The way he was able to make that Porsche, it just seemed, especially on the infield section, it seemed to be able to turn on a sixpence, and then down the straights it had great straight line speed. And he was able to make moves in traffic really nicely, was able to pull away from the defending champion and the championship leader in Ross McFarlane and Alex Davidson. We have a proper chase on our hands here for season 13 of the World GT Championship.
We certainly do, but we'll have to wait 2 weeks to be able to see that. Once again, thank you very much to Peter Mackay on commentary, Hugo Luis behind the scenes bringing you all the pictures, and from myself, Paul Smith. We'll see you on February the 20th for Bathurst in this series. Until then, it's good night.